Hello. On Twitter, I posted, people have been posting this image for Easter, and it's, the people who know that it's my favorite image. And so I, I posted, unironic use of this picture by Christians always amuses me. If you can't laugh with them, you can at least laugh at them. Um, and I I don't know. With the whole Christ is King thing, and um, I recently read Wilson's book about the Jews. What is the name of his book? Um, I just I felt like giving kind of a American Milk and Honey by Douglas Wilson. Um, I guess this is kind of a recap of Jacob's greatest hits on this channel, but to explain why I use this image so much, and kind of to say Happy Easter to my Christian friends, um, hopefully in a nicer way than I would rather laugh with you than laugh at you. Let's put it that way, right? Um, and so this image. So this is called Cristo Crucificado. It's by Vasquez. It's here. The Christ crucified. Um, where? Uh, by Diego Velasquez. Sorry, Diego Velasquez. There it is. 1632 is the um, is the date of it, and it's just so perfect for the stuff that I say on this channel, um, and my greatest hits that I I use it a lot, and there's a reason for that. First of all, this is obviously not a Jewish Jesus, right? Um, he he. Well, forget the haircut. Maybe it's possible that would have been his haircut. Um, Jesus is never shown as being circumcised, and I actually looked in art because Jesus' circumcision is mentioned in the Bible, right? In the Christian Bible. And yet, even on when he is depicted as at his circumcision, he's never circumcised. And that's one of the um, that's one of the three signs of being Jewish, right? That the Bible actually refers to as being a sign. And the reason if you look at the sign above him, so it's supposed to say Jesus the Nazarene, King of the Jews, right? Yeshua Notzri Melech Yehudim, right? And the Hebrew is vocalized text. So vocalized text is something that was invented by rabbis about 1,000 years ago, right? So about 1,000 years after Jesus, several hundred years after Jesus, to help people who can't fluently read Hebrew to read a text they don't understand. Uh, Rabbi Mullet says, "Why am I looking at this?" And the and so the fact the rabbi says, "I would much rather see your face than naked hanging yashka." Um, so but look at the Hebrew. Just look at the Hebrew. Um, it's the the Hebrew is menukad, right? Um, it's it has the vocalizations, which is a rabbinic invention, um, which we would never put on a sign. I mean, there you don't write signs with vocalization because anybody who actually reads Hebrew just would not vocalize the sign. So there's no reason for it to be vocalized. So what the painter did was he found somebody to give him the Hebrew, and the person who did the Hebrew vocalized the text. And then he was, after like the first two words, you can actually read. The next two words, you can't. They're not actual Hebrew. They're pseudo Hebrew gibberish. And so I keep on saying, for me, it's a huge miracle that never is the fulfillment of Judaism conversion to Christianity. You can talk about Andrew Clavin, you can talk about Michael Brown, you can talk about Jews who have converted to Christianity. But in all of history, I have not found one single thing of like somebody who is an actual faithful religious Jew being guided to becoming a Christian. I tell the story that Rabbi Skobach tells, and this actually happened to Rabbi Skobach. He's told it on video many times, and it just so this is the type of story that makes me believe in God and believe that God is in fact Jewish. Rabbi Skobach was contacted by a cloistered monk in a monastery near him in Toronto, and the monk told him he needs to talk to him, right? And so Rabbi Skobach goes and visits this monk, and in his cell in a monastery, and the monk says, "I want to convert to Judaism." And Rabbi Skobach asks him why, and he says, because part of the discipline of that monastery is that they recite the entire book of Psalms every day. And the longest chapter in the Hebrew in the Bible, but in the Bible, is Kuf Yud Tet. It's Psalm 119, which is an eightfold acrostic. And it just sings the praises of the Torah, right? It's 176 verses, eightfold, 8 times 22. There are 22 letters in the Hebrew alphabet. And so he thought he recited this every day, to the point where he thought, if the law of God is so great, why don't I keep it? Right? And this is the thing with Christianity. I don't want to laugh at you. I want to laugh with you. I really do. let's laugh at this picture together. And I mean, this has been part of my criticism of the Noahide movement, is that it is too critical of Christianity. Because if you believe in Orthodox Judaism, then you believe what Maimonides says in chapter 11 of the Laws of Kings and Wars, which was censored and has been restored. You can find it at the end of chapter 11. God created Christianity. God created Islam. There is no Jewish faith that says that Christianity serves no purpose in this world. That's just not a Jewish way of looking at things. And if you are a Christian who actually believes Christ is king, right? And I mean, that's actually a tautology, right? The word Christ comes from, it's the Greek translation of the Hebrew Mashiach, which means anointed, as in the anointed king, right? So you're saying the one who is anointed to be king is king. Well, yes, the one who is anointed to be king will definitely be king. I definitely agree with that. But you're talking about the Jewish Messiah. That's why, like, the whole debate on whether or not it's anti-Semitic. And I have to say, if you're not paying attention to the politics around what's going on with the Daily Wire and on Twitter and the Groypers, after October 7th and how the anti-Semites in the Democratic Party have been coming out of the woodwork, and a lot of Jews and a lot of allies of Jews are seeing the anti-Semitism in much the same way as in Britain, people saw the anti-Semitism in the Labour Party, and that's part of why the Conservative Party had a huge win. And a similar thing would be happening in the United States. Yet now suddenly the Groyper thing, suddenly this Christ is King thing is bringing all of the anti-Semites and Holocaust deniers out of the woodwork. And if you don't see that this is something that is keeping the Jewish community from realigning and becoming Republicans, and you think that this is just organic, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, it seems so obvious to me that this is not an organic thing. But I'm talking to the people who actually do believe Christ is king, and they love Jesus, right? If you love Jesus, you believe Jesus is a Jew. Doug Wilson's book, I was just shocked at the superficiality of it. Especially, I was looking to see what he says about the Talmud, and it's just, I mean, he quotes some article that he read, which by someone who doesn't know very much about the Talmud, and it was just so obvious that it's a superficial understanding. I would love for Christians to be actually messianic. I would love for Christians to actually believe in the Messiah, in the coming of the Messiah, in like, you're celebrating Easter, right? Okay, celebrate Easter. Is Jesus a Jew? Does the Hebrew Bible and Hebrew matter? Do you take those things seriously? I mean, there's a reason why Christianity is such a paper tiger, because it hasn't taken things seriously, and it is a paper tiger. I really do believe that. Um, it doesn't take the Bible seriously. It doesn't. Their own Bible seriously, and that's this image, right? That's what it is. It really is. I don't know if I was clear. I mean, this is kind of Jacob's greatest hits, and I've said this a million times before. But I have faith that anybody who truly seeks God will be led towards God, right? This is a basic faith that I have in God. And it's a basic faith I hope Christians have in God. I really do. Especially on Easter. And if your faith is in that Jesus is King of the Jews, then take that seriously. That's what I would say on this Easter, right? And if you take that seriously, you would laugh with me at this image, because it's laughable. This is not what Jesus could possibly have looked like. That's not what that sign could possibly have been like, right? And frankly, I'll tell one more story. So Franz Rosenzweig was a prominent philosopher not too long ago. I think he lived right before German theologian and philosopher, 1886 to 1929. Yeah, right. Wow, he died young. Right before the Holocaust. And he was raised as a secular Jew, and his cousin convinced him to convert to Christianity. And so Rosenzweig said if he's gonna convert to Christianity, he's gonna do it right. And first, he's going to learn about Judaism, and then convert to Christianity. And he, upon discovering and actually exploring Judaism, he decided he doesn't need to convert to Christianity because there's no point. And I mean, that really is the question, right? Do you believe that Judaism is the fulfillment of Christianity, or Christianity is the fulfillment of Judaism? And if you believe that Christianity is the fulfillment of Judaism, then you believe that by being faithful to Judaism, by being faithful to the Hebrew Bible, and that's part of what Douglas Wilson's book would not, cannot, right? He cannot believe that someone like Rabbi Jonathan Sacks was faithful. He can't accept that, right? And many of his followers definitely cannot accept that. Because what does that mean, right? Why wouldn't someone like Rabbi Sacks, if he is faithful to the Hebrew Bible, why wouldn't he see? This is the eternal question of Christianity. This is why Christ is King is a reference to the Jews. Because the fact is that if Christianity is true, then Rabbi Sacks should have seen Jesus as the Jewish Messiah. And he didn't. And if Judaism is true, then Christians, by being faithful to their faith, will end up at Judaism, which I do believe is what will happen. Because I believe in God. I actually believe in God. I actually believe in God. So if you believe Christ is risen, right? If Christ is risen, then you would believe in messianism. You would believe in a Jesus who was a Jew, who was circumcised, who wore phylacteries, who wore tzitzit, right? The fringes on his garments. Yeah. The only thing I will add is ultimately, it's not about what you believe. It's about whether you are a good person or not. The thing that gets me most upset is the blasphemy called common grace. This is an idea Calvinists have, that a person who is a good person has common grace, meaning God graced them with saintlyhood, but they're still going to heaven. And that is just so blasphemous. Read any part of the Bible, especially Ezekiel 18. So the other thing I will say is ultimately these theological discussions, we can talk about them, and I love talking about them, but it comes down to, what do you actually end up doing? Are you a good person? Are you a kind person? Fountain of Comfort is link below, is my attempt at actually taking these discussions into a place of good. And we've been having discussions. This has been going on for 8 years now, since Donald Trump came on the scene. It's time we actually got to brass tacks and started actually acting. And if you have something better than Fountain of Comfort, go right ahead. But Fountain of Comfort is the best thing that I have, where you can actually work towards doing good. Yeah. So I won't rehash all of Jacob's greatest hits. I think that's enough of it. I'll just say, on this Easter, when you think of Jesus, remember he's Jewish.